Zhou Jiming is a bongbong man. Bongbong means stick, and with his bamboo pole, along with some rope, he can carry just about anything. For today's job, Zhou is lugging 9 elevators into a new condo building. It's backbreaking work, but the pay is good. He will earn a little over $1 an hour.
It's a little harder work than usual, but it's good work.
Migrant workers like Zhou are doing the heavy lifting of China's economic boom.
This is very heavy, of course.
The economic boom has enticed 200 million Chinese to seek work in the cities. Here, in Chongqing, officials say tens of thousands of people are arriving each month. The growth is easy to see on days when the smog isn't that bad. New skyscrapers and cranes stretch out in every direction. The New York building rises from the center of Chongqing's fashionable downtown. The development has brought riches to this provincial town, but human rights groups say such breakneck growth has come at considerable human cost for millions of migrant workers. It's easy to see why. Just a few streets away from the expensive boutiques, in the space above a duck butcher, lives Zhou. It's a tiny space, there's mold on the walls, and he shares the twin bed with his brother.
My
house in the countryside is much better than this one. It's got 2 stories, 4 rooms on the first story, and 3 rooms on the second.
So why stay in the city? The answer is simple.
Back home in the countryside, I only make about 1,800 huai, but here I make over 10,000 a year. So you see the big difference. It's maybe 5 times as much. I don't think I'll ever go back to the countryside again.
Every day, Zhou is out on the streets at 7 a.m. looking for things to carry. This has been his routine during the last 10 years that he has been away from his wife and 16-year-old son. Like millions of other migrant workers, he doesn't have health insurance or Social Security. But one of the most far-reaching effects, experts say, could be the toll this estrangement is having on millions of families all across China.
For such kind of migration, it breaks the family. Not really breaks in terms of divorce, but really there is no complete family for a certain period during the migration.
After a half day of looking, Zhou finds work carrying cement at a construction site. He'll earn $5. Like all the workers here, he says that being away from his family for so long is not as important as making money.
And when I'm busy making money here in the city, I don't really miss them a lot. But when it's the busy time in the fields, I worry about my wife. Is she getting too busy in the field?
The village of Aojiawan is only about 100 miles from Chongqing. But Zhou only gets back here a couple times a year to help his wife work in the fields.
If my husband were still at home, I'd be feeding the pigs, feeding the chickens, maybe weeding the fields, but basically I would not be working in the fields.
She's not alone. Residents here estimate that 90% of the men are gone. Only old people, children, and especially women are left to work in the fields. It's a scene that's repeated all across rural China.
I do feel lonely, of course. When your husband is away, you do feel depressed sometimes.
Rapid social change has taken a particularly high toll on rural Chinese women. China's suicide rate is already double the rate in the U.S. But unlike in the West, suicide among women is 25% higher than among men, mainly because of the large number of suicides among rural women. Their son is away at boarding school, so when lunchtime arrives, Li eats alone.
They do not have a complete family, so this family education is lacking, and there are a lot of implications on this.
One of which, Yi says, is that children learn to value money over everything else.
They think if I can drop out from the school early, and then I can also go to city. I can also earn some income. So money is so important for them. And compared with study, they may think study is useless.
Soon after lunch, other women from the village gather at Lee's house before returning to work. Only a couple of these women are able to read and write. Education in these poor villages has traditionally been a costly luxury. Lee only went to school for 1 year and is determined to keep her son in school even at the expense of breaking up the family. The money her husband Joe earns in the city by carrying things funds her son's expensive boarding school.
Basically, if my husband doesn't work in the city, my son doesn't get to go to school. That's why he's in the city in the first place, to put my kid in school so he can be educated, so he doesn't have to work in the fields anymore. Now, since my husband is out there working, we have enough money to go around, which is very important. Otherwise, we'd be worried about how to keep life going, and that fear is much stronger than the need for him to stay here.